Hey guys, we're going to do these oral quiz problems real quick. This is question number 1 of 2 on the oral quiz. I'm going to go through these as quickly as I possibly can. So the first one, we have the 4th degree polynomial, and we're going to list all the possible roots. We're going to do the factors of 4 over the factors of 1, and that's not very many options there. So the factors of 4 are positive -1, positive -2, positive -4, over the factors of 1, which is positive -1. So we're looking at 1, 2, 4, positive and negative. So that's step 1. That's the answer to 1. Part B says use synthetic division to test several possible rational roots in order to identify one actual root. Okay, so we're going to do synthetic division. We're going to have a 1 and a 4 and a -5, -16 and 4. And I'm going to start with positive 1. So now I'm going to do my synthetic division. So it'll be 1 times 1 is 1. It gives me a 5. That's going to give me a 0. And that's going to give me a -16. And that's not going to be a 0. 1 did not work. Hopefully I did that correctly. So now I'm going to try again. This time I'm going to do -1. -1, 1, 4, -5, -16, and 4. And that'll give me -1, which gives me 3. That gives me -3, which gives me -8. That gives me 8, which is going to give me a -8, and it's going to give me 8. And this one did not work. So move on to 2. I bet 2 works. You know, I probably should have just started with 2 to begin with, because, I bet 2 works. And so then 2, and that'll be 6, and that's 12. And did I do that right? 1, 4, -5, -6. Okay. And that's 7. Is that right? Yes. And so then that's 14, which gives me -2, and that gives me -4, and that worked. So I have an answer. 1 is an answer. Now, this is a 4th degree polynomial. For 4th degrees, we have to do this twice. 4th degree, we find 2 answers using synthetic division. So the first one I've already found, which is 2. And so now I'm going to do synthetic division, but I'm not going to do it with the numbers I had before. I'm going to do it with these numbers. So now I'm at an x to the 3rd. And so now I'm going to try -2. So I'm going to use those numbers there. -2 times 6, 1, is going to give me a -2, and that's going to give me 4, and that'll be 8, -8, excuse me, and that's going to give me -1, and that's going to give me 2, and bam, I got my second one. So that's my second answer. So when you have a 4th degree, you have to find 2 answers using synthetic division, which I have just done. I have 2 and -2 for my answers. And so now I'm going to be at a 2nd degree. So I'm going to have x squared plus 4x minus 1 equals 0. I'm going to use my quadratic formula. X equals -b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times 1 times -1 all over 2 times 1, which is going to be -4 plus or minus the square root of 12 over 2. I hope this is right. Is that right? No, that is not right. It's going to be 20 over 2, so that's -4 plus or minus 2 square roots of 5 over 2. So that's going to give me -2 plus or minus the square root of 5. Those are my other 2 answers. So 2 and -2. Those are my 4 answers right there. Okay, so now that is number 1. I did synthetic division twice. I got 2 and it worked, and then I used the answer from that division and tried -2, and then I was able to use the quadratic formula. Okay, number 2, we're going to answer parts A through D, leading coefficient test. Okay, so we have negative 3x to the third, x minus 3 to the second, x plus 5. My leading coefficient is going to come from multiplying all those together. I'm going to multiply this times this to the second times that. My leading coefficient is going to be negative 3x to the sixth. There's 3 here, plus 2 here. That's 5, plus 1 here. So my leading coefficient is a negative 3x to the sixth. So we have even, and we have negative. So this is going to fall left and right. We're looking at fall left and right. So that's part A. Right. Part B says the x-intercepts. Those are also known as the zeros. Zeros, x-intercepts are the same thing. So for the zeros, x-intercepts, I'm going to take negative 3x to the third, set it equal to 0, x minus 3 to the second, set it equals to 0, and x plus 5 equals 0. X is 0, x is 3, x is negative 5. So those are my zeros. These are my zeros, x-intercepts. You would type them in 0, 3, negative 5. That's how you would type them in. Okay. And now we're going to determine which of the zeros cross the x-axis and which one of them touches and turns around. Okay, so for doing that, we're going to use the multiplicity rule. So the multiplicity, this first one has multiplicity 3, and this last one, middle one, has multiplicity 2, and the last one has multiplicity of 1. This would be considered a triple root. This one has multiplicity 3. It has odd multiplicity. Odd multiplicity touches and turns around because the 3 is odd. The power on this one is 2, so that's even multiplicity. Sorry, that's wrong. Odd multiplies. Odd multiplicity crosses. Even multiplicity touches and turns around. My bad. And this one's also odd, and it crosses. So the odd multiplicity crosses. The even multiplicity touches and turns around. Okay, so for your MyLab answers, the zero that has, what do they ask for first? Crosses first. So for the first part, it crosses 0 and negative 5. It crosses. So you type in 0, negative 5, and then for the next part, put a 3 for touch and turn around. Okay, and so that's the problem right there. All right, so now let's keep going. The next question is, well, MyLab's very difficult sometimes. The next question is the x-intercepts. So we'll do the x-intercepts. The x-intercept, the next question is the y-intercept. The y-intercept, you actually plug in 0. Okay, so that would be 3, 0 to the, negative 3, 0 to the third, 0 minus 3 to the second, 0 plus 5. Plug in 0. This is multiplication. So this is negative 3 times 0 times 9 times 5. Think about where that 9 came from. All right, and since 0 is just going to be 0. So the y-intercept for this one is 0. Now we use all that information together to figure out our graph. And so here's what you're going to do. It is multiple choice, but let me just remind you what happens here. Our first piece of information was that this thing falls left and falls right. Our second piece of information were our zeros. The zeros, or the x-intercepts, We have x-intercepts at 0, 0. We have an x-intercept at positive 3. And we have an x-intercept at negative 5. Then the next piece of information was the multiplicity, whether it crosses or touches and turns around. And it crosses here. So watch me cross the graph at negative 5. And then it crosses at 0. So I got to turn around and cross at 0. But at negative 3, it's going to touch and turn around. So that is somewhat what it looks like. So it crosses here. It crosses here. But touch and turn around here. And that's it. So that's it in a nutshell. I'm trying to go really, really fast for you guys because 2 problems. Anyway, hope that helps. No Just Math Y'all thumbnail on this video.